One time for your mind. Hey. Let's make sure we got everything in order. Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Nightcap Knowledge. My name is George Chuck Patterson, joined by our co-host, Mr. Mac Epps. Act like we never left, cat dog. Hey, we're gonna put some on your head before we go to bed, baby. Get you a nightcap. It's one of them Tuesdays. Let's go.
We in here.
There you go, man. Good job, man. Good job.
We in here.
We
DJ
are
George
in
Chuck.
here. We are in here, man. What's up to everybody tuning in, tapping in with us on YouTube and Facebook? We weren't able to get Instagram going tonight, but nonetheless, we are here for another episode of Nightcap Knowledge. My name is DJ George Chuck. I am joined by Mr. Mac Epps. Mr. Mac, how you feeling, sir?
I think we got to start this thing all right by saying this show is rated Black and Uncensored. Real talk, real issues, and hey, real solutions, real issues. We're gonna talk about it, man. We're gonna lay it all out on the table, baby. We're gonna make sure we do what it is. We're gonna tell it like a TI is, and we're gonna kick the doors off of 2026. Right? We're gonna talk about it. No quit in 26. We're gonna be rich in 26. We're gonna definitely be fit in 26. We're gonna make it happen.
Well, that's spitting bars.
We're gonna make it happen, Captain. What you feel about it, Chuck? Tell us what the groove is.
Hey man, the groove is coaching on days that end in Y. Spending time in gyms, ball fields. If it's got anything to do with any of that, that is where I am. I am definitely in the sport dad era, as Taylor Swift would say. What is it, showgirl era? All of those things. So yeah, man, we had a ball game tonight. Jackson and his team, the Hot Shots, the 8U Hot Shots, got another win. So on the season right now, we are 3-1. McRae and his team, they're playing in the it seemed like it was 13U. Cause them boys was as tall as me. So tough game for them tonight, but up until tonight they were undefeated, and they got their first loss tonight by some kids who will most likely
Mhm.
They'll be playing somewhere on an NCAA court.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's cool. I think, of course, our losses, we get lessons in our losses. So that's been a groove, man. We've been trying to make sure that the boys are prepared for their sporting activities, making sure that they are confident, and also putting in the work outside of it. So we we appreciate this comment. We appreciate this comment, man. Look, we are actually we are in favor of preaching the word, and doing so in spaces and places and in ways that are non-conventional. So, Mac, I have a word for you. I have two words.
Yes, sir.
Since our friend uh decided, what is this, summertime fun, live, laugh, love. We want to give a hello to Mia Rowe. A lot of random YouTubers are checking in, tapping in with us. The word that I learned today
Hmm.
was political and theological narcissism.
Hmm. They go hand
What
in hand.
what would you say that? What would you say when you heard that phrase? Political and theological narcissism.
Um, well, I mean, you know the basis of narcissism, right?
Break it down, because you're in mental health,
So
and you
that,
usually do your mental health minute and all of that. I
yeah.
wanted to start that with a question about
So,
this because I need more understanding.
so you talking about narcissistic behavior, right?
Uh-huh.
Self grandioso. I mean, everybody right now in the world see a prime example of what you know narcissistic behavior looks like, right? Just turn on the news, you see it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and but it's the person that usually does not have it, right? They are portraying to be that person, where the people say so full of themselves and expect almost like a demigod complex, um, above average type of deal, type of thing. So when you said theological and political, there are certain people that are in the clergy and certain people that are elected to political office expect to be treated a certain type of way and they carry themselves a certain type of way. Um, that I've heard that being referenced to, um, you know, almost like you don't know who I am. I'm kind of give you that King Joffrey Jofer type of deal. Um,
Mm-hmm.
not in that type of setting, but it's um, that's what I get from it, right? When you say political and theological, um, and narcissistic, like why is your purpose, especially on the theological side, right? You are a messenger, so you don't want people to worship you; they're supposed to worship the Creator, and you are the
Mm-hmm.
messenger for the Creator. But somehow it gets caught up to the point where you are looking for them to worship you as the man and not being the understanding the message that you are bringing, and that's it. Political thing is that you are elected servant, um, and sometimes that get twisted, as being an elected servant. Our person that's in charge of the federal government just now is elected servant. But
Mm.
when you have a narcissistic mentality and servant don't go hand in hand, right? You don't see yourself as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So.
so look, I learned this from another podcast. It was brought up in conversation.
Hmm.
There was and I think it's Christian Smith. His podcast is Holy Smokes and Cigars.
Hmm.
He brought up the term theological narcissist. There was a gentleman that obstructed the way of the monks that were walking for peace.
I saw him.
You you,
Yeah.
you saw that video?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Christian's wife is also a social worker by trade, and
Hmm.
also I think she has some sort of license in mental health therapy too.
Hmm.
So what they brought up is, why is it, the question that they proposed was, why is it that Christians believe that their way is the only way? Why is it that we Christians, and I'm saying we because I am a Christian, why is it that
I'm an Epps.
we believe that we can condemn folks to a hell that they don't believe in?
Mhm.
Why is it that you're gonna obstruct this man who's walking for peace
Mhm.
and tell him that he's not gonna go to this place, or that he's not
Mhm.
following the doctrine
Mhm.
of Christ? The thing that I will offer to people, and I feel like some of these folks in the comments might be spamming us, but the thing that I would offer is this. My calculus professor, Dr. Nimir Fahmy, was from Egypt, and Dr. Fahmy shared with me
Mhm.
about uh, something called Coptic Christianity. The oldest Christian, some of the oldest Christians in the world, like predating Christ, predating all of the things that we've learned on this side of the pond, that we've become familiar with as a result of colonization and imperialism. Dr. Fahmy said that Coptic Christians existed in Ethiopia, which is where I believe that it finds its origins. But beyond that, all of the religions uh in the motherland, the continent, had a way of coexisting, meaning that, hey, y'all got y'all customs. If I go to the Epps house,
Mhm.
I understand that the Epps may do things a certain way.
Mhm.
If you come to the Patterson house, you understand that the Pattersons may do things a certain way. It's like, I'm not gonna go in your house and tell you that you're doing something wrong.
Mhm.
That's disrespectful
Mhm.
in every culture.
Mhm.
So that's the way that Christian from Holy Smokes, that's the way that he broke it down on the theological narcissism. It's like, you have such a high belief on who you are and who your religion is, but is it contradictory to what your Bible is actually telling you? Is the question that I kind of thought that he was proposing. So I went a step further,
Uh-huh.
and I said, America
Mhm.
is the combination, Mac, of both of them.
That's why I said cut the TV on. You can see it. And
It's the combination of both of them.
but so let me tell you this, Chuck. Right. So these are the sensitive conversations. Right. Everything we see is orchestrated intentionally. Um, when you start digging deep, people usually try to put you in a corner to make you choose to say, "Oh, you this or that," because you don't agree with them. Of course, you look at things differently. Um, the colonizers that came to this country came for what reason? One of the main reasons was freedom of practice of their religion. So when you ask the average person, was America built on Christian values? And they would tell you what,
They would say yes.
but it's not.
It's not.
No.
They built. Go ahead. Keep going. Keep cooking.
And that goes back to the Declaration of Independence and the word that was said, now, does it take a dollar out of my pocket or does it break my leg for what my fellow man believes in? Years later, you found out that the way you can control large group of people, if you can get majority of folks to believe in the same thing, that's how you can control and move large groups of people. There was
Yes,
a
sir.
large push for religion. So the more people think freely, the less control you got of them, right? It
Yes,
was
sir.
about 10 years, almost 10 years ago, they're talking about the number of how they had declined. Not saying what misconstrued is folks believing in the creator or believing in God or being spiritually grounded.
Mm-hmm.
Is because they did not have a specific religious practice or believe in certain things, because that's what put you in the box. But that's also how you can move and control large groups of people, is by getting them to believe in that. Where majority of the Africans was found religion where? Within slavery, which it was screwed, misconstrued, and um, it was taught to you a certain way to believe and think a certain way.
Right.
So even when you grow up, you couldn't ask questions that made logical sense because they told you that you were questioning God. So you never questioned when somebody told you to do certain things. You didn't ask because they told you couldn't ask, right? Um, so go back to what you were saying. Super religious, you can see certain levels of like you're talking about this guy. It gives you certain mental break vibes, right? To the point where that your identity has been dissolved into believing that you have to give this message and you got to tell these folks this, and not realizing that you are not really doing what you should be doing when it comes to how you handling these folks.
Yeah.
um, but I never forget, years ago we was on Lynch Street doing voter registration during the Lynch Street Festival, and they're playing music and folks out there having a good time, and this lady just took it upon herself to walk through, and she had a finger like a cross and just throwing it at everybody, kind of like you damning everybody to hell because they was enjoying this secular music. And I was
Yeah.
like, so you went out your way to come here to tell people that, right? But again, that's the way you believe things. So I don't get in mix of it, because when they said to be Christ-like and being Christians, them two different things. Because Christianity wasn't celebrated till after his death for majority of the folks, right? Because again, you won't get into semantics with folks, but you know what we were taught and what that idea looks like, and is totally two different things, right? Because you got to start talking about Hebrews and Jews to go ahead and get into this conversation a
Yeah.
lot deeper.
Now
And that's
you.
usually where we're not trying to get to.
Uh-huh.
Folks don't want to get to that conversation, right? Because again, so that's why when some people, they be like, "Oh, I don't get into that," they try to do. Well, let me educate you. No, leave us alone. Leave us alone. Because we start pulling out things that you can't answer, right? But that behavior, that's America. That's a lot of things that you like you just said. That's a lot of things. That's not just with that, but that superpower, that super grandioso persona that I'm better and I'm this and I'm that. Usually is because there's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of puff behind that, right? Um, you're trying to fool folks. You're trying to bluff, as my uncle would say. Trying to get your bluff in. Um, but that mindset is why we are in a position we are in now, and there's no checks and balance system. Um, but it's those type of conversations, um, telling people, you it had to be somebody look like us going to be out there trying to, out of all the people, they're going to stop
Lord
it.
have mercy,
Out of
boy.
all the people, they're going to stop the monks, right? It had to be somebody looking like us that's going to be the person that's going to block the monks and try to tell them, um, that's going to try to tell them what they're doing, and they're going to go to hell. So there's different practices, right? There's so many different things. People say, well, he who is known by many names. There's so many different things. Um, Pretty much, you just worry about what you got, and not worry about how this other person practice, because you don't know what the message was in that land where they're from. People adopt different practices as they get older because things fit them.
Yeah.
But majority of the time, what it is, it goes back to the same basis: looking out for your fellow man.
Yeah. Love
That's the
thy neighbor as
foundation.
thyself, bro.
That's the foundation for majority, all of it, if not all of it, is you know looking out for your fellow man, right? And you're gonna have folks that's gonna take whatever it may be, right? No matter how the origin started and why they're gonna take it, and they're gonna do something different with it, and they're gonna use it in a different way than what they meant for it to be used. So, um, just like the social media, they know, like whatever this is, this in these damn comments, you know, somebody go out their way to do that. Like, you ain't got nothing else better to do, right? Can't go find nowhere hot to sit. Just that's what people do. Um, but I think for us, I know I want to take these last couple of minutes. I know, hey, everybody, we know we started late, but we're gonna end on time. So, and the real reason is because we got shit to do. Just want to put it out there, right? We are hitting the ground running. Um, we have been saying this for the last 10 years, if not longer, that elections have consequences and leadership matters. My freedom, my vote. If you don't understand what this phrase means in 2026, my freedom, my vote, and how your freedom is directly connected to your vote, if you don't understand that in 2026,
If you
okay,
don't know me by
I
now.
don't know where you been, what rock, who basement you tied up in, but
Oh
I'm
man.
just saying that is directly connected. And if there was no value in it, same way we said when folks trying to take Jackson, I ain't never seen nobody fought over nothing or fight for something that wasn't worth nothing.
Yeah.
So people gonna fight to try to take your vote and take your voting rights and suppress them. And one of the major ways they have hurt organizations like ours is because they have changed the postmark date and the postmark criteria, rather, meaning that it's no longer count when you drop it in your box. You got to go to wherever your regional sorting center is. So if you're in a rural area, and that can be greatly affected, meaning that if you're doing voter registration and say, for instance, Monday is the deadline, well, like today's Tuesday. So Wednesday, I need to first of all do my research and find out how long it takes the standard mail to get there to be
Yeah.
postmarked, and then know what cutoff date and cutoff time I need. So
Yeah.
that
And that's
to
some of
make
the
sure,
stuff we can start educating folks on now.
and that's what we need to know. So basically, where you are, where would the area be that counts as the postmark? How long does it take it to get there to be
Yeah.
postmarked? So that way you know how much time you're working on. And big shout out to the the great Mike Sayer, even battling different illness. He was his lawyer brain was working, and he was saying, "Well, you just got to extend your window out another week. You're just gonna have to extend your organized week window out a week. You can get around that. That's easy. It's not the first time they try to challenge us. It's not the first time they try to stop it.
Yeah.
You know." He said, "You just got to extend everything out a week," which makes sense, right? So versus trying to get it in the mail by this Monday, well, next Monday, you get it in the mail by, this past Monday. So that means
Hmm.
we got to hit the ground running and doubling down. That's just for when we say for voter registration, but also updates, right? For those in the central Mississippi area and other parts, of the state and maybe other parts of the South. Period. We're gonna get some real winter, and to the point where it's not just fun. This is that grown folks real winter that I wish it wasn't doing what it's about to do, so I wouldn't have to. Uh, I wouldn't have to be in the mix of it and get out there in it. And meaning that we got a lot of rain coming for the next few days, and we also know that we have projected for Sunday and Monday. We're supposed to get some winter mix, and the temperatures are going to be freezing. So meaning if it rains Sunday, rains Saturday night, it's going to be ice on the ground Sunday. So we want people to take those precautions. We have a couple flyers we're going to start reposting. One, what to do for this winter. Um, we have one, what to do for storm. But just start looking at your checklist. Make sure that you have things you need. Today is Tuesday. Tomorrow is Wednesday. So go now and start getting the things you need in case you don't have to get out. You still might have to go if you can get out, but get the stuff from your grocery store now versus catching the grocery stores off guard and you come and taking everything. Like now, if you go tomorrow and start to, they can get stuff in before the winter storm, before the storm hits. But temperatures are going to be really, really low. Um, for those folks we know, let's start our call list, checking on our senior citizens, especially those folks that live by themselves, those that live in rural areas, those that live on single roads. And for some of y'all don't know what that is. That's them long dirt and gravel roads off the road, one way in, one way out type of deal. Let's start checking on our folks and make sure they have the things they need. Stock up on the things that you need. Um, here's the crazy thing about those winters, gas. Most people want to drop their thermostat or turn their thermostat up. You really want to moderate, and set it at a good, safe temperature, because you don't want it to be a issue where it's a strain on gas for everybody, right? That's something that you can check out with the Public Service Commissioner and folks in the atmosphere. You don't want to, if you got your thermostat set on 75 and the temperature drops to 16 or 18, don't start dropping your temperature, turning your heat up to 80, right?
Right.
Because it's still not going to
Put some clothes on.
put some clothes on, but when it gets to 75, it's going to cut off.
Yeah.
Same rules applies for the air, right? You don't need to turn it up, don't need to try to push it, because this is Mississippi. It's not going to last long, but you don't want to put a strain on the gas. Also, when it comes to that, tree limbs are going to freeze. There could be possible tree limbs falling on different things, forest power lines. So that's another thing we want people to prepare for. Make sure you got batteries. Make sure you got gas for your generator if you have generators. Make sure you have the things you need for your vehicle. Check the battery. This is the number one thing I want everybody to do tomorrow during the daylight. If it's not raining or now, check your battery's date. Look at that date on that battery. Now, if that battery says 22, regardless if it was put in 22 or it went out in 22, regardless of how you want to look at it, it's time to replace that battery, because cold weather would tell you what kind of stuff you got in your vehicle. It would put strain on it, and you don't want it to get you to work or get you to somewhere, and then you are one of 3 cars in the parking lot and you doing this, and it won't start. That battery, check your tires. If you got some May pops on your car,
The cold weather gonna get it out of you, boy.
if you got some May pops, you need to let that joker stay where it is until you can get you some tires. And if you can't move your car, I got a guy named Big Sean to come to you, right? Those are things. Your windshield, if you don't have a carport or anywhere to pull your car under, get some cloth, whether it be an old blanket or whatever, put some on it and cover your windshield. You don't want it to crack anymore, but also if you got to get out early, it versus waiting a long period of time to try to wait for it to defrost, cover your windshield. I always advise anybody. I do it.
Yeah, that's a good idea right there.
Cover your windshield so that way you don't have to worry about going through the defrost process as deep. People, right? We know people, as we have bags. Big shout out to Tank and the Wine Club putting together some bags. We're gonna pass out to some of our homeless population and folks that we might be in need. And we're gonna be supporting them, because it's one thing to be in rain, it's one thing to be in cold, but it's a whole nother monster to be out in cold and rainy. It's no way to stay warm. So we want to definitely be looking out. And if you see someone or you know someone that's unhoused, and depending on the area you're in, start making calls to figure out will there be any fallout shelters in your area if you do not have a traditional shelter, so you can start directing those folks to safety. We don't want any tragedies this year. We don't want anyone accidentally freezing to death. We don't want none of that type stuff happening. So that's why we say this information we're giving you might not mean nothing to you, but pass this information on to somebody else, because they might know somebody that knows somebody that needs this information.
It might help somebody along their way.
Boy, that sounds like one of my old gospel songs. When it's, I tell you, there's so many different songs that tell you, but they talk about the little light, they left the light on, and because somebody might be lost in the wilderness trying to find their way home, right? So let's be that light. Let's be that light. Let's help people get home. Right now we are at where we at, Chuck? Are we?
Yeah, we at 9:50. We at 9:50. We got good time. Yeah,
we got good time.
Go ahead and do your announcements, man. I know you got some stuff coming up.
Well, I think that the announcement we're definitely focusing on is to get people to pay attention to the legislature session, right? Stay tuned in and see what's going on. We got folks out there that's advocating and fighting for the average person. And so pay attention to what's being pushed to be passed and why, right? You got to ask questions. Like, there's someone said that we need a large ICE facility here. It just so many different things. So people can feel how they want to feel, but there's nothing no different than what they did with slave patrols than what ICE is doing. Right? You have those folks that you need to give them some type of position to make them feel like they better than the average Negro. So they get to go round up folks, right? Regardless of what the language said, what was the purpose. They just seen anybody that look a certain way. They damn sure don't speak their language. Half of them can speak their language. So they just grabbing folks. But they're treating people inhumanely because that's what they're conditioned to do. They don't recognize you as a human. You believe that. You make you feel good. That goes back to that narcissistic behavior we were talking about earlier. Um,
Yep.
that's one of the things that's on there. Talking about school choice. Education is always a hot topic. Always, state of Mississippi. You know, they always trying to figure out how they can how they can pay for a private education with public funds. It's always been a hot topic, right? Ever since a lot of the private white academies changed their name and added Christian into it, right? 501c3 status. But anyway,
Ain't no anyway. Ain't no anyway. Like the whole school choice thing is a hot button topic. They use it under the guise of, positioning yourself to say you should be able to choose. Like, and that it's a double standard. Like, we want you to be able to choose for this,
but
but
you
can't choose this.
Mm-mm.
Like, whatever this is over here, you shouldn't have choice for that. Now, for this,
yes,
because it benefits this particular political party, then you can, as long as you're down to do this with us, then that's cool. But you can't do that. And that's the whole premise behind those two descriptor terms of political and theological narcissists. Is like they believe that their way is the only way. Their political agenda is the only agenda.
Now, here's this. I'm gonna say this, play devil's advocate. There are certain things, right? Sometimes now I had this conversation with my daughter in that age group where you give them factual information, you tell them a fact, and they'll be like, well, that's your opinion. Be like, no,
that's a fact.
That's a fact. If your gas hand go from F to E, that it ain't the way you look at it. That means your car about to run out of goddamn gas. I think sometimes those are the hard things that has to stand in place. That, hey, you're gonna have to be like, no, this way is the right way. Right. It might happen to be my way, but it is the right way. And it's in social work, you talk about making the best choice out of the available options that you have. And depends on who's nominating or bringing up the topic or suggesting what we should do. It depends on how people move, right? It depends on how folks look at it. And if you stand strong on it and don't budge, because it just don't make sense. Now for us, Chuck and I and Sabir and all of us, we're doing, stuff. It's just hard to see that you can do something ass backwards and you just want us to participate just because, we don't want to make them feel bad. I don't give a shit about that. I'm not gonna do nothing. I'm not just be doing it ass backwards. We're gonna go out our way to do some hard work just to do it when it was like it didn't make sense to do it. You know what I'm saying? Those are things that's different, right? Trying to tell you that, hey, I transitioned from eating meat to vegetables cold turkey. I didn't do that. I had to gradually step down. Some people might be able to do a cold turkey. Some people might go back and forth. Some people might find out the balance. You know what I'm saying? It is. I can't tell you that's the wrong way to do it. You got to do what's the best way for you and what works for you. And you got to have a certain empathy for your fellow man to make sure that they have what they need. But I can't. I can't focus on how you gonna go to heaven or hell. I don't have that energy to do that. I'm worried about you here now on earth.
Come on, man.
That's my concern.
Come on.
I'm worried about this now, right? Because again, I don't know what kind of relationship you got with your deity, and it's not
That
for
ain't
me
none
to
of my
know.
damn business.
And that's one of the major things that we try to convince others. That's where I ain't caring about it. And as the old folks used to say, some people that sitting on the front row that gonna bust the bottom out of hell, and some people that ain't never entered the door that's gonna make it to the gate because of what they do
There you
for their
go.
fellow man and the relationship that they have.
Yeah.
But for us, Chuck, one of the main ways we can be a change agent in a positive way as we promote Black economics and support our Blackness and not afraid to be Black and everything that's associated with it, and working hard to support us. And one of the ways we do that is with our own pop-up shops and our own businesses. And those are the things that we are going to continue to advocate for. And we're going to dive deeper into that next week. But hopefully everybody are being, hopefully everybody's working on getting properly prepared for the weather that we got coming this week. Um, but if you want to see things like this happen and get bigger, you want to see other things associated with it, like the workshops and financial literacy, banking, and all of that. We need some resources, and we're gonna
Need
keep
some
working.
munchies. Yep.
We're gonna keep working. Hopefully, this helps us get to where we're trying to go to, Chuck.
Trying to get to where the money reside, baby.
Yeah, get to where the money is at. But
So, appreciate y'all a bunch. Thank you to the spammers and everybody else that tuned in tonight for another episode of Nightcap Knowledge. Be sure to tap in and show up Saturday, January 31st, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We have the Black Market. This is all going down and hosted by Herbal Wellness South and Therapeutic Lounge. We got other sponsors: Mississippi Move, Mississippi Black Pages, and Black with No Chaser. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.